Hello everybody, this is Miss Patsy here, and she has such a wonderful testimony and I wanted her to share it with you. And Miss Patsy is 92 years young?
Yes.
Yes, and so you are going to be so blessed by her testimony. And what is the name of it? A miracle?
A miracle happened.
Amen. And so she's going to give that to you now.
I want to tell you about the many ways God has worked in my life and all the miracles that have happened. But first, I want to ask a question for you. How many of you woke up this morning and said, "Good morning, world"? I was just wondering, or did you wake up and have a cup of coffee or a tranquilizer? Which one did you do? You should have said, "This is a very good morning for me," because God and I both decided it would be. Sometimes we forget these small things that we do in life. Remember, a positive attitude will get positive results because attitude and enthusiasm are contagious. You're probably thinking, "That's not about your testimony." Yes, it is. Without this positive attitude, enthusiasm for life, and the help of God, I could never have handled the rough times you're going to hear about. In Psalms 121:1 says, "I will lift up mine eyes unto the hills from which cometh my help." On July the 7th, 1930, a small curly-haired baby girl was born to Mildred and Grover Johnson. Since they already had a 4-year-old son, Charles, it was a joy to have a baby girl. But this joy was short-lived. In a few days, this tiny baby girl, Patricia Claire Johnson, began to cry and cry and cry and scream. And Mother decided a pin was surely sticking me from a diaper. She was shocked beyond tears when she saw a red blob on the outside of my body. The doctor was immediately called. He really didn't know what had caused this, but knew this was my bladder on the outside and turned wrong side out. They immediately took me to the hospital in Chattanooga. Mom and Dad were told I was born with exstrophy of the bladder. The reason they did not know this for 2 or 3 days was that a thin skin had covered it at birth. There was also a muscle missing that held this all inside. The doctor told my parents, just keep her comfortable as possible for the time, because my life would be very short. Oh, how God works miracles, because now I am 92, as you've been told. Mother said I cried and cried so much that I lived on Paregoric and aspirin and prayer. And I can remember the terrible pain even today, and can remember begging for aspirin with soda. I really liked the taste then. Mother and Dad took me to many doctors in Chattanooga and in Nashville. They tried several things, but nothing seemed to help. They did not know how to correct exstrophy of the bladder. Not long ago, I read in a magazine that by the time a baby is 5 months old, they can correct this for life. God did not mean for mine to be that easy. In Matthew 17:20, nothing shall be impossible unto you. I'm sure sometimes my parents thought I was impossible, but my mom and dad never let it be known if they felt this way. By the time I was 5 years old, I had cried and strained so much I strained my rectum on the outside. The doctor said nothing can be done, but my dad said, yes, I believe it can. And I can remember seeing my mom and dad praying, and I'm sure they must have read Psalms 55:22. Cast thy burden on the Lord, and he shall sustain thee. Someone told Dad about a doctor in St. Louis, Missouri, that would do the surgery to correct the rectum only. A doctor in Chattanooga made the arrangements, and the three of us boarded a train for St. Louis. We had very little money at that time. My dad drove a school bus, worked at a grocery store, and farmed. We arrived at the hospital and have since decided the receptionist who filled out our papers had to have been an angel placed there by God. As she finished filling out the papers, Dad asked if she knew somewhere they could stay that was not too expensive because we had very little money. "Wait here just a minute," she replied. She came back with the sweetest smile and replied, "I know a perfect place. I have a cabin about 7 miles from the hospital." Dad quickly asked, "How much a week or a day?" The reply came quickly from her, "It's free to you and your wife." Suddenly Dad replied, "Does a bus come by the cabin?" Immediately Miss Kempker replied, "You don't need a bus," and held out keys to her second car. Mother cried and replied, "You're an angel." I had my surgery on the rectum, and the rectum repair was successful, and I've never had any trouble with that since. Miss Kempker furnished a place to live and them a car to drive. She also bought most of the groceries. Psalm 34:4 says, "I sought the Lord, and He heard me and delivered me from all fears." Dad soon returned home after the surgery, and Mother didn't know what to do because she was really afraid alone at night, and they would not let me go home yet. "No problem," Miss Kempker said. "I will spend the night with you at the cabin," and she did until Mother returned home. She taught Mother different methods of cooking. She taught her calmness, and above all, God would take care of no matter what. And now I'm sick with lots and lots of pain and not able to control my bladder. I wore diapers, but I wanted to go to school. "No way," said Mom and everyone else. So Mom taught me at home. Now, if you've never been taught at home by your mom, well, it's rough. I had a hard time learning to spell, and I think Mother delighted in sending me in a corner. But she read to me a lot, and she taught me all the facts of life, and how to read and write and do all of those necessary things. 7 years old, and I just loved my older brother. I thought he was just wonderful because he was 11 years old, and I thought he was really grown up. Now I'm 8. No school yet. I was really getting depressed. I wanted to go to school. But honey, you'd have to wear diapers, and 8 or 9-year-olds sure don't do that. Or they might even make fun of you. Mom told how I placed my hands on my hips and said, "I don't care if they make fun. I don't care what they do. I want to go to school." In July, I'm 9 years old, and in August, I started school in the 2nd grade. Miss Merle Stanifer was my teacher, and she was another angel, placed as a teacher. I started school with diapers and rubber pants. Miss Merle let me use the cloakroom to change. Was I embarrassed? No. I was just happy to be in school. Did they make fun of me? If they did, it didn't bother me. 2 Corinthians 12:9. My grace is sufficient for thee, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. Now you can just imagine how petted and pampered I'd been. I was waited on hand and foot. But something was about to invade my world. About 9.5 years, I got a baby sister named Molly Ann. She was cute, bald-headed, with the biggest smile. While all this was taking place, I spent some time with my Grandma and Grandpa Minton and my Aunt Marjorie, who taught school. It was at this time I decided I was going to be a teacher too. It was also at this time that I gave my life to the Lord. I was baptized and joined at First Baptist Church, where I am still a member. Another miracle happened. 3rd grade, Mrs. Avis Wilson was my teacher, and she was great. This year, I started wearing sanitary napkins and rubber pants. I had a great year with friends like Brownie Gray and Sarah Stanifer. They were my very best friends. Mother always reminded me I could do anything I wanted to do with the help of God. That is, if I really wanted to. And I really wanted to do about everything anybody else did. And with a positive attitude, guess what? I did. Now, I could give you 12 rules of happiness. I have them here somewhere. I could give you 10 steps to develop a positive attitude. And I have these too. A positive attitude and happiness is all up to you. But God expects us to have these. If I could sing, and I really can't, I would sing, accentuate the positive and eliminate the negative. At this time in my life, my Aunt Marjorie was important in my life. She took me skating, let me do lots of things. She decided to leave Dunlap and move to Wartburg as supervisor of education, and I was very, very sad. 5th grade rolls around, and I got to go upstairs at Dunlap Elementary where the big folks were, and I had fun. The doctors decided I needed surgery to correct my condition. Thank goodness. Dr. Cecil Newell at Newell's Clinic did the surgery. They turned the bladder and placed it back inside. I remained in the hospital all summer, flat on my back, no air conditioning. The surgery was partially successful. At least the bladder was inside, but not working properly. We will try again next summer, he said. I kind of agreed, although the surgery was very painful. 6th grade was normal, year as normal as I could be. The summer after the 6th grade was spent in Newell's Hospital, flat on my back, surgery, tubes, doctors, nurses. Oh my. I prayed a lot this summer. I was asking God why. Why me, Lord? I don't know if you've ever done this or not, but I surely have. Pain, pain, and more pain. And worst of all, as I told my friend, through tears, I'm not better. All this for nothing. Then I remembered what I told the Lord. With your help, I can do anything. I'm sure all the attention I received from being sick was hard on my sister. After returning from the hospital, I had to stay in the bed, as Maulin tells it, and gave her orders. Mother had her cleaning and dusting and so forth, and I'd say, "You didn't get all the dust under that chair." And boy, one day did she wham me over the head with a dust mop. She got a spanking too. But now we are the very best of friends and love each other dearly. 7th grade finds me taking piano lessons, expression lessons, boy crazy, just like all the other girls. Summer came. Yep, another complete summer in the hospital. More needles, doctors, tubes, pain, all summer long. No, it was not successful. I was reminded of 2 Samuel 22:2, and he said, "The Lord is my rock and my fortress and my deliverer." I began high school in August 1946. The coach was afraid for me to play basketball after I went out, so he let me be the manager, and I got to go on all the trips. I was always part of the clubs and plays. I really had a good time. I loved school. I dated in high school thinking, I can't ever get married. Why am I doing this? Sure, I got discouraged at times, but never dwelled on the negative. Oh, my little sister was such a nuisance when she was little. I'd have a date come to the house, and there she was. Several couples would be at my house playing Monopoly, and she'd slip them money under the table. And then when I started driving, Mother would always say, "Well, take sis along with you." That's the way I got to go. And as a senior, I dated Hollis Pope for a while. Psalms 27:14. Wait on the Lord. Be of good courage, and he shall strengthen thine heart. Wait, I say, on the Lord. As time draws near, I decided to go to college. Yes, I still wore sanitary napkins and rubber pants. Could I ever do this? I started the first summer after graduation from high school in 1950. After graduating from high school, Brownie Gray and Evelyn Whitlow were my roommates. At the end of the summer, they left. What will I do? No one else will understand me. But the Lord did provide a wonderful roommate who did understand, and we were friends and visited each other till the time of her death. My Aunt Marjorie financed my college education, and I am so appreciative of this. She took care of me then, and the Lord let me take care of her for 2 years because she had a heart condition, and we brought her to Dunlap to live. We lost her at 90 years old. I loved every minute of college. I made a lot of new friends, dated a lot, learned a lot, but I'd come home on weekends and kind of date Hollis Pope on weekends. At the end of 2 years of college, I'd worked off 3 years by going in summers. Daddy found out that Mayo Clinic had a doctor who could perform a surgery to correct exstrophy of the bladder. Dr. Cecil Newell made arrangements for us to go to Mayo Clinic in Rochester. Mother, Dad, and I drove there. I had surgery that had only been done on a few people. The urethral tubes were removed from the bladder and placed in the rectum. I was very positive and excited about the surgery. I had done much praying previous to the surgery. It was successful, except for a little trouble at night. The doctor had told us before the surgery that sometimes the surgery did not remain successful. If I should get an infection, it would probably be difficult to cure. By now I summarized that I could never get married. The doctor said I could never get pregnant or have children. During all this confusion, I realized that I could not carry my own cross, but had to depend on the Lord. I had a decision to make. I could return to college and let my dad pay for my hospital bill, or I could start my teaching career with 3 years of college and finish my last years in the summers. Psalms 46:1, God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. My decision was to start teaching in the fall of 1952. My career started at Fredonia teaching 3rd, 4th, and 5th grades. Oh, what a challenge. Anna Faye Longhurd, Thomas Ray Land, and Rufus Price were a few of my first students. By this time, I was dating Hollis Pope all the time. I also remember being so happy with my teaching career, but I also was reminded that God alone is the only source of happiness and contentment. Things really began to get serious with Hollis. I would sing him more and more. I finally decided I had to tell him everything and say goodbye then. I prayed and prayed, but it seemed I could not get an answer, or at least what I expected. I had a date one night and decided this was the time. I was honest and told him my whole medical history, even told him the doctor said we could never have children. I can still hear his words as he said, "Pat, did you really think all this would make a difference?" Well, it doesn't. I still love you and always will. Will you marry me? I could not believe what I was hearing. I almost froze. Of course I said, "Yes, I'll marry you." God had performed yet another miracle. He had sent someone who loved me in spite of my handicap. When I told Mother I was planning to get married, she could not believe it. No, honey, no. You can't keep house and cook and be a farmer's wife and teach school. No, honey, just forget it. Now, we'll work this all out. And your health's not good either. And oh, she went on and on. And you got to remember, though, that Mother had always petted me a lot. I married Hollis Pope on December the 19th, 1953, at Dunlap First Baptist Church. I was so happy. We moved into our own little white house on the farm. My dad thought this was hilarious. His little girl living on a farm when she was afraid of dogs and chickens and all sorts of things like that when she was young. Now, my sis was in high school by now, and she thought it was great that I had a home of my own that she could always come to visit. She usually brought her friend Jewel Merriman with her on weekends. She was kind of really disappointed when I told her she could not date with asking Mother first. Oh me, she said, just another second mother. I continued to teach. Hollis operated the farm. Such happiness I had never known. And Mother even admitted I was able to handle everything well. Hollis was a wonderful, understanding husband. Can it be that we continue many times in our hurt simply because we really do not believe God answers our prayers? Well, I'm here to tell you mine had been answered, and I had a loving mate for 65 years. 1954, 55, 56, I continued to teach 7th grade. I loved teaching. I loved the children. I really gave myself to teaching. I even coached basketball for the girls for several years, and let the boys talk me into coaching them one year. For 3 years, I went to school every summer and finally received a BS degree. Mrs. Lola Land and Overton Johnson were my mentors. If I could just teach like Lola and have the enthusiasm of Overton Johnson, it would have been great. You remember I told you the doctor said I'd never get pregnant? Well, God said different. And in March 1957, I found out I was pregnant. I shocked my family, my friends, and neighbors. I decided to take a year's leave of absence from teaching. Guess what? I was never sick because I was so excited and thankful to God. I thanked Him every night. Another miracle in my life had taken place. Isn't our God wonderful? Never say things are impossible. On December 17th, 1957, a bundle of joy, a baby boy, our miracle child, Gary Hollis Pope, was born by cesarean. I whispered a prayer of thanksgiving and still praise God daily for our son. The next year I returned to teaching. I enjoyed it as much as ever, but found it harder to find time to grade papers. Mother said, never tell Patsy she can't do something, so she'll do it because she has so much determination. I had a very busy life: church, home, baby, teaching school, PTA, community work, a happy life, but busy. Remember, God never promised us a rose garden. He only promised us His love and eternal life. I always thanked Him every day. In June 1959, I had polyps on my colon, which required yet another surgery. Dr. Fowler from Chattanooga came to Sequatchie General Hospital to do the surgery. Everything went well. I went home and 4 days later started running a high fever and chills. I had to go back to the hospital with an infection. Home again, thinking everything must be okay. 2 weeks later, I had a temp of 103 and chills. Oh me, back in the hospital, another infection. This rotated back and forth all summer. I was also losing weight. Now I'm in Erlanger, packed in ice, fever, chills. I was praying hard to be well. I had a 1.5-year-old baby to take care of, and I had a 7th grade class who needed me, and my loving husband needed me. It really was beginning to seem God was not going to answer my prayers. 1 Peter 5:7, cast all your cares upon Him, for He careth for you. I did begin teaching in August, and I would teach a week, be sick a week. I was getting weaker and weaker. I had lost 50 pounds by September and could hardly go. For some reason, the Lord had brought me down to my knees. Dr. Cecil Newell explained to us that the doctor from Mayo's had told us the last surgery I had that sometimes would not work if you got an infection, and I had received that infection from my polyp surgery. Did I question God during this time? Yes. Why, Lord, did you give me a baby if you weren't going to let me take care of him? Why, Lord? Why? I went to Mayo's Clinic, then to St. Mary's Hospital for surgery. I left Dunlap with 102 fever and so weak I could hardly travel. When I arrived at the clinic, I had to see different doctors from the one I was scheduled to see. He told me if I wanted to live, I'd have to have a urostomy surgery and wear a bag on my side for life. He told all the negative points with nothing positive. I made up my mind I'd just come home, but God decided different. The next day I met my real doctor. He was wonderful, told me all the positive points and insisted I have the surgery and I would have many years to live. I had the surgery, recovered quickly, returned home to my baby boy and my husband. I thank my Lord over and over and still thank Him today for letting me live. The surgery was very successful. I do wear a bag on my side, which has caused me very little problems. It has been 63 years, and isn't it wonderful that the Lord has allowed me to stand here and tell you about this. I returned to teaching in January after my surgery. My health improved and everything returned to normal for a while. Gary attended elementary school in Dunlap, and he was a help to his dad all of his high school years. He went to college for 2 years, then married Kathy Snyder. They had 2 boys, Sean and Andrew. My grandsons are my pride and joy. In 1977, my husband turned a tractor over him. He broke both pelvic bones and both shoulder bones, had 2 blood clots. I thought several times he would not get to come home, but God knew different. Prayer does marvelous things in our lives, and we all prayed a lot. I thought this cannot be. I cannot live without Hollis. I just stop and remind myself that God knows exactly how much I can stand, and He will not permit me to reach a breaking point. Hollis's health improved. He returned to the farm and work, another miracle in our life. After 23 years of teaching math in elementary and middle school, I moved to teaching math in Squatch County High School. I enjoyed working with the teenagers, and I served my last 4 years as assistant principal. I retired in 1994 after 41 years of teaching. We enjoyed traveling and slowing down the pace of our life. I've always enjoyed cooking and canning and reading, relaxing as I enjoy my great-grandchildren. I love them dearly. Caitlin, Caleb, Shelby, and Liam all call me Yaya. In my lifetime, I have received many honors. I was recognized as an outstanding elementary teacher of America and had the annual at the elementary and high school dedicated in my name. The Valley Forge Freedom Foundation Teachers Award was presented to me. I received the Distinguished Service Award from the Governor's Committee on Employment of the Handicapped. Delta Kappa Gamma presented me the Achievement Award. I received the American Businesswomen's Woman of the Year. Bledsoe County Farm Bureau awarded me the Lifetime Agricultural Service Award and the Farm Bureau Women Outstanding Achievement Award. I tell you this only to let you know what God has done in my life. In the spring of 1984, I was chosen as one of the field test evaluators for the new Career Ladder program in Tennessee. I served for 3 months, then returned in August to work a full year. This was a very rewarding year as I evaluated other math teachers across the state. After returning to the classroom, I was evaluated by the state and received a Career Ladder 3 certification. In 1985, I had the pleasure of being elected state president of the Tennessee Delta Kappa Gamma Society International, a society of key women educators. It was my duty to visit chapters, conduct workshops, speak to groups, and to attend chapter, state, and international meetings. In 2019, Hollis's health was deteriorating because of his diabetes, neuropathy, and age. In January, he became sick and was hospitalized for a week. He was then transferred to NHC in Dunlap for therapy. I spent 24 hours a day with my husband in the nursing home, even receiving my meals there. Hollis was not eating and could hardly take therapy. He began to choke on his food. Gary was helping him eat one day when he began to choke. I turned quickly to run to the door and call for help. I fell hard and hit my knee and head. I was taken to the emergency room in Dunlap, then sent to Park Ridge Hospital in Chattanooga. I had crushed my kneecap and pulled the ligaments in my leg all loose. Dr. Higgins did the surgery and placed my left leg from thigh to ankle in a brace that kept my leg straight 24 hours a day. In 2 days, I was sent back to NHC and placed in a room with Hollis because his health was failing. He could not take therapy anymore, so we had to pay $7,000 a month for him to remain in the nursing home. But hospice soon took over his care and kept him comfortable. All I could do was lie in my bed and watch him die. On April 11th, early one morning, my loving husband just stopped breathing. The Lord took him quickly and easily. Oh my, what would I do? I knew the Lord would take care of me. I don't know how, though. I really got through visitation and the funeral with my leg in a brace and straight out in front of me in a wheelchair. Again, the Lord, my family, and friends got me through it all. My son and Gary and daughter-in-law, Kathy, were always by my side. Sean, Crystal, Caitlin, and Caleb were there to help. Andrew, Jack, and Shelby and Liam were always helping, and I depended on my sister a lot. After coming home from the nursing home, where I had spent 100 days, Lisa and Sally Green were hired to help take care of me and clean my house. I call them my angels because I don't know what I would do without them. My son Gary and Kathy take good care of me, and I thank every day for them. Darrell Johnson, my close neighbor, is thoughtful and good to me. He checks on me every day and helps in many ways. I've been active in the Dunlap First Baptist Church. It was an honor to teach teenage girls, young adults, older adult women's Sunday school classes. I've worked in Bible school for many years, served on committees, been active in mission work. Hollis and I sponsored many parties and hayrides on the farm. The church always prepared meals for families of deceased members, and I did lots and lots of cooking to help. I now attend Stevens Chapel United Methodist Church since I don't drive to my church in Dunlap. In March 2020, I had a partial knee surgery. I did fine with the surgery, and home health came to my house and gave me therapy, and I quickly received the use of my leg. I had another setback after finding out my iron level was so low. The test showed only a trace of iron. I was hospitalized and given a unit of blood and several units of iron. This really improved my health. With the help of Lisa, this summer we can improve lots of vegetables. I tell you all this to let you know all the things God has allowed me to do in my life and all the miracles that have happened. Whatever your problem, when you believe in God, believe in your potential, have faith, and pray, You can do the impossible because God works miracles. If Jesus has been revealed to you as Lord and Savior, and you've accepted Him, you have experienced the greatest miracle of all, salvation. Thank you.